You know, this is the cleanest and nicest police car I've ever been in my life. This thing's nicer than my apartment.
Computer, I want you to shut down all the lens flare generators.
Lens flare generators deactivated.
Fascinating.
That's better.
I was unaware that we had that.
It's nice, right? I mean, who designs a starship where lights shine right in your eyes from virtually every angle?
Sweet and low? No. This is not sweet and low. This is equal. Blue packet. Sweet and low is pink. See? Equal blue, sweet and low pink. Not.
Darth Vader, only you could be so bold. The Imperial Senate will not sit still for this. When they hear you've attacked a diplomat...
I know you have been inconvenienced, and I'm prepared to compensate you. Shall we say 1 million American dollars? Very well then, 2 million.
Hi.
We are known.
We are known, and we are back in full force.
Indeed, unfortunately for you.
Or semi-force.
Right, sort of semi-force.
Not in full
I can do
voice.
semaphore. I'll do my reviews in semaphore. Because my voice is...
That's how we get into the big time.
There you go.
Specialized.
Is that it? Is that the break?
Well, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are the Cinemaniacs.
Cinemaniacs.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
I'd
like to say an early hello. We actually have viewers.
We have
fans.
viewer.
Sarah and James, I believe. If it's not James, I apologize, but I know it was Sarah. Wrote us an email because she just loves our theme song so much. And I'll try to find out once again. That was generated by my former host, Lee Perkins.
I think it's...
Lee, if you're watching.
The shortest answer is it's stock music.
Right, exactly.
So you may hear it somewhere else out in the world and know that it truly belongs.
But it's nice to know that we're just not completely wasting our time.
Not completely.
I'd rather waste their time than our time.
Well, we've already begun.
Which is what we're doing. Before we get going too far, I do want to send our condolences out to the area of Pittsburgh for the terrible shooting at the synagogue. It's an unfortunate world in which we live. Sometimes I think the work that we do here and talking about movies is kind of wasted because there are so many more important things we could do. But then sometimes I also think sometimes it's good to, you certainly don't want to disavow or not pay attention to any of these things. They need to be fixed. But sometimes it's nice to just take a step back and lose yourself for an hour and a half or 2 hours, as long as you can realize that there are more important things to go on.
And I went to lose myself in a film at the Alamo Drafthouse yesterday. I chose to watch the 1983 Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, okay.
And the first segment featuring Vic Morrow, sadly completely relevant in light of what we're talking about.
Unfortunately.
So I couldn't even escape it there. Moving on to less important things.
Yes.
We have films to discuss, including, if I may.
It's all yours because we may disagree on this one.
We may. This is going to be the rare occasion. You heard it here first. We don't agree on this. Gerard Butler stars as the captain of a submarine who has to go behind enemy, way undercover behind enemy lines to help avert a Russian coup and perhaps the end of the world in a little film called Hunter Killer.
They made it. I can't believe it.
So this is one of those movies, like all movies, this is the conundrum.
That's easy for you to say.
I wish it was. This is the conundrum of moviegoing. Every movie works best if you don't know what's going to happen in it.
Right.
But what maniac, cinematically or otherwise, in their right mind would pay to see something and they have no idea what they're getting? So I would say to people, if you like the idea of a submarine movie, if you could possibly go to see this blind, there'll be huge surprises and, well, unless you've seen a movie before. There'll be big surprises and twists and turns as to where the story goes. Now, unfortunately, to sell a movie, you need to give people a taste, and unfortunately, they give people the entire meal. So you kind of, the secret of what the big plot twists are all in that trailer. I did not look forward to this because I assumed it was going to be an excuse
So I was
for...
exactly the opposite. I love submarine movies. I like most of the actors. I was really looking forward to it.
I've seen submarine movies I like and some I don't. I assumed this was going to be extreme close-ups and shaky cam because everybody's in a confined space. It wasn't. It was actually shot really well, I thought. Some really nice vistas here and there. And at times, I almost felt like this would have done well in 3D. Elements of it, I'm like, ooh, that would have looked pretty in 3D. 3D is sort of deceased at this point. You got your Gerard Butler, who's a working man. He's risen from the ranks. He's a man of the submarine people, being thrown into command of this ship on a really desperate, impossible mission, and there's a SEAL team that's also dispatched to the location, and they're working separately together to try to defuse the situation and avert, nuclear war, basically. I really had a good time with this. I didn't expect much of it. I was kind of dreading it, and maybe that's why my expectations were low. But I was with it. I didn't see all the twists and turns coming. I mean, I guess it's not going to be, not to give anything away, as you said, I guess it's not going to be the end of the world at the end of a movie, but it was still fun. Well shot. You had the submarine things I like, where they go too deep and you hear pew, 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 as all the rivets are flying out and stuff like that, and a lot of tense moments. I thought, just as a popcorn matinee movie, I really quite enjoyed this. I don't know if I would compare it favorably or otherwise to other submarine movies, because I don't remember them very well, but I had a good time with Hunter Killer.
I had a flashback to First Man, where, and I think you and I agreed on this one, that everything I saw in First Man, I said, done better in The Right Stuff and Apollo 13.
Absolutely.
With this one, everything I saw, it was well shot. With this one, everything I saw submarine-wise was done better in Run Silent, Run Deep, and of course Das Boot, which I think is just a brilliant film. So for me, there was nothing new. I just thought it was fraught with just good intentions, and look how the Soviets and Americans can get along, and the submarine captain, Gerard Butler's crew sure don't trust him, and that seemed forced to me. This backstory of, he's completely untested and nobody will ever believe him, and of course you have the argument, and then we've got the terrific Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman film,
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide, which I thought was brilliant. So you've got that relationship, only much more two-dimensional, where the XO just doesn't trust him and is constantly arguing.
I thought he was going to fire that guy out of torpedo,
I'm just waiting for Butler to say, you get the
Right.
you're never...
Swim.
But that shows what a great leader Gerard Butler is, I guess. I just thought it felt really two-dimensional and by the book. You're right that you can't expect it to end in World War III. It's going to work out. And a lot of the little clues that they leave, this guy gets shot, and the SEAL team's going to have to leave him, and we'll try to come back for you, and will they come back for him? That kind of stuff. I mean, it worked methodically, I guess, particularly if you haven't seen a lot of the other submarine films. It was perfectly fair.
I think that's the case for most general audiences, is they don't watch anything that wasn't new in their lifetime,
Right.
and they don't retain memory of a lot of
Right.
that stuff. So if you're talking about Das Boot and Run Silent, Run Deep, you've got two of the most attractive things to a mainstream audience: subtitles and black and white.
Right, exactly. So you're right, and I like Butler. Unfortunately, I thought one of my favorite actors just chewed the scenery to no end.
Yeah.
So I just thought Butler was okay. You made the comment off air, so I'll steal your thunder, that you have a Scottish actor who actually shows up in Scotland.
I'm like, they're going to let him be Scottish for once.
But no, he's American. But yeah, I just thought it was over the top, reminiscent of Air Force One. We've got a blonde female president arguing with her cabinet about. It just felt so much like, take a little of this and a little of that and throw it together, and hey, you got a sub movie. So I was pretty disappointed. I was going into this, and maybe I'm the flip side of yours. You weren't looking forward to it, and so you enjoyed it maybe a little bit more. I was really looking forward to it, and I think I was maybe a little bit more disappointed in that.
Being hopeful about a new release was your first mistake.
Exactly, and if you like the actors going into it. I liked an actor going into a new one. Rowan Atkinson is back, and he's talking. He's not Bean. You may know him as Mr. Bean, one of my favorite characters of all. But he's back as his super suave and now retired secret agent who gets called out because shades of Mission Impossible, the knock list has been stolen. And everybody is going to know who all the secret agents are. Well, you have to pull him back out and see if he can save all of the secret agents of Her Majesty's service. Because, once again, Johnny English strikes again.
Thanks, folks. And once again, welcome back.
So,
this is the third in a series.
Yep. And again, so going into it, you don't really have to know anything. It's not like there's an ultimate backstory to the Johnny English character. He's making fun of the James Bond characters, and Atkinson is such a terrific physical comedian. He's getting a little long in the tooth, and they play that up a little bit. That's okay. But it's the same kind of English Bean jokes that you're going to expect from it. I thought this was fresher than the second one. I thought the first one was really quite funny. I was disappointed in the second one because it was kind of more of the same and nothing building on it. Not that it's it's a serious film, but even comedies need to do that. But I thought this was fresh enough and was enjoyable enough, and he had enough to do that. I kind of enjoyed it.
And you see Olga Kurylenko, who was a Bond girl in, it was that terrible. No, the terrible one, Quantum of Solace, I believe.
Oh, which was on last night, and I saw that last.
You could actually see anything going on in that movie. All I saw was a blur. Were there other Bond-related actors in this film that you recall?
None that jump out at me.
Because that's always a fun thing. There was a movie from 1967, I believe, Italian Bond spoof called Operation Kid Brother or OK Connery, and it starred Neil Connery. People who like Mystery Science Theater probably know it because they ran it on that show. But it was Sean Connery's brother. And I think they kept referring to him as the brother of, that agent. And it had like half of the Bond supporting cast and former villains in the movie right around when they were still in those movies. So I'm always amused when they can hook people in like that. George Lazenby isn't doing anything, is he, right now? He's probably free.
I don't think he's in demand, really.
So I did the show by myself last week because
you did? Sorry about that.
You weren't here. And
I couldn't even talk like this.
No, he was
at that point in time.
He was mega Vaccaro last week. and I realized afterwards that we missed the opportunity to hear what you had to say about the new Halloween, which is a very controversial film.
It is. Why is it?
Some people really like it,
here.
and some people like it, and some people hate it.
I'm on one side.
So I really liked it, and I saw it twice, and I would see it again, and I want to know, and they probably more than me.
I'm sure they're dying to find out.
I don't care. But they are really interested to hear.
That I really hated it.
You hated it?
I was so looking forward to this, and I love Jamie Lee Curtis. It's such a tradition. Tradition, it's not really a tradition. But Curtis was really, historically in film, one of the first really strong women. We have this really smart character in Laurie Strode who, and there's been a lot, she's been covered a lot, and we've been seeing a lot of short documentaries about why she was cast and what her approach was and everything like that. And Carpenter apparently cast her because she was frail and looked, like she wasn't going to be able to do this. And so here's a character, a woman who brings herself up and for want of a better term, defeats Michael, but using her smarts, survives this thing. So I was looking forward to her character coming back and doing that. My understanding was, and going into it, I kind of knew, I guess, all those other Halloweens, forget about them. Maybe even Halloween 2 that she was in.
Yep.
And I think we're supposed to do that. This picks up. Michael's incarcerated after killing everybody and his sister, and he gets sent off, and he gets transferred for some strange reason, and obviously he escapes. And the whole thing starts up again. That's okay. I can deal with that part of the premise. What I was so upset about was throughout the entire film, the gist is, crazy old Laurie. She's just an old crazy old lady, and it's Chicken Little throughout the whole thing. Oh, the sky is falling. He's coming back. He's going to kill everybody, and nobody believes her. And I just thought it was ludicrous. I thought it took this character, and she was an executive producer on it, so maybe she doesn't have anything to do, and I don't know, but I don't know why she took this role, particularly with what I thought it did to the character. I thought it diminished the character, demeaned everything that she had created, both she as an actress and she as a character had created in the first one. She's this nutsy old lady, and she lives out in the woods and is this hermit, and her family has ostracized her because she ruined her daughter's life, and now she's got a granddaughter, and she ruined their lives because it was all learn how to shoot a gun, learn how to do this, learn how to protect yourself. She was Sarah Connor in The Terminator, but the complete opposite bad side of things. I was just really upset about how mundane, plotting, and forced all of the action was. You know what's going to happen. Excuse me. What's the logic? We're not giving away really too much, but obviously Laurie she's off in the woods and she's built this house that is just phenomenally well defended. Well, why? What's the logic? He's locked away. Michael has seemingly become this supernatural character. Beforehand, in the first Halloween, I didn't think he was supernatural. I just thought, he's really damn tough. At the very end, he falls, disappears. Where did he go? That was weird. But now it's truly like he has supernatural powers. And I just thought, I was just upset and angry at the whole thing. I gave it a 1 on a scale of 0 to 10. Because there's a little kid who's being babysat, and he's really funny. The little kid was really funny. And fine little actor. So, but I was just pretty furious at the end of Halloween. Sorry.
Now you have 2 opinions on Halloween.
Yep.
What's yours? Write us at movies@cheshiretv.org. No, that's cool. Yeah, because I've heard people go both ways on it.
Yep.
I really liked it, and that was thinking. I was going in
Why?
thinking. I thought the suspense worked. I thought it was pretty well shot for the most part. It had some twists I didn't expect.
Didn't you see this new doctor is just, well, Loomis is dead, so let's bring this guy back.
Absolutely.
Let's shove this character in here. And
That's what I didn't like. It were the elements that felt like they were just copying the original.
Okay.
Where the escape at night is similar. There are a lot of
why
shots
are you
that are the same.
Here's this guy that is this horrible killer and is supernaturally powerful. So you put him in a bus with a whole bunch of other convicts? Just bring everybody along. Why don't you have 18? I just thought it was just, sorry.
I have theories,
This
but
is
I don't
how
want
upset
to.
I
I don't
am.
want to spoil anything. We should do a special.
Right,
It's the
probably.
Cinemaniacs Halloween special. We just talked about Halloween for an hour.
Sure.
No,
You were still defending Halloween. I'd like to know.
Well, I mean, we have other films to get to, but I'll defend Halloween. Oh my! Mostly because I thought it was going to be terrible and it wasn't.
Okay.
No, but I had fun. I
so
wound up
you
seeing
weren't
it.
looking forward to it.
Really?
Really?
I thought it was going to be not great, and the closer we got, the more I was hopeful for it.
Okay.
And I watched it with friends, and I actually wound up, due to circumstance, I wound up watching it 2 days in a row. And
Really? You watched it twice?
Yeah, and I liked it as much the second time, and I would watch it again. And there's something about it that just felt good. I mean, it's totally unnecessary, as arguably every sequel to Halloween
right.
has been, except 3, because 3 is its own thing. But I liked this. Now, they're angling hard, and it's made enough money so that I'm sure we'll see another one. And it'll probably be another resurrection where, for my taste, H2O was fun. I liked Halloween H2O, which was the previous, forget all the other sequels, this is the second movie.
Right.
But then they made Resurrection, which was terrible. Which is always the danger. They made one movie too many. And I feel with this, it was a good way. If you're saying, okay, nothing else exists, this was a fine way to say, okay, it's all done. But it made a lot of money, so there'll be another one. And how badly
you
will
think
they
Hollywood
screw it
is
up?
interested in money?
Well, I mean, it's all it's about is money, really. I mean, you know that, right? So anyway, I don't want to give short shrift to the next film we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
Is it you or me?
That's your turn, I think.
Oh well, then, with a song in my heart, and now on to home video, where you can see things that you might not have seen in the theater, or you can see things you saw in the theater again, or you can see things that never made it to a theater because, frankly, they weren't good enough to be in the theater. Here we have a film based on a whole bunch of ABBA songs, a sequel to a film based on a whole bunch of ABBA songs, in which a cast sings a whole bunch of ABBA songs. Everybody pretty much, almost, kinda, sorta, is back. And it's a Greek island, and there's love and loss, and a song in their heart with Mamma Mia. Here we go again.
Comes from Mars.
Sorry.
It's also a very controversial
Yes,
film.
we're on the edge this week.
A lot of people really were hating on this movie before it even came out. And my whole thing is, what's wrong with movies that make you happy? What's wrong with music that's pleasant to listen to?
And the first one was so campy, intentionally so. And
it was a light, fluffy movie based on ABBA songs.
So what do you want?
That's what I said about the original. I'm like, what did you think this was going to be?
Right,
It's a movie based on ABBA songs.
Right.
I love ABBA. So, my beef going into the first movie was, I don't want to hear other people singing ABBA songs. But I liked the first one. It was pretty to look at. It was fun, and the music was good. And that's pretty much
Pierce Brosnan songs.
Pierce Brosnan can't sing.
Right.
And he sings a little in this movie. It's brief. It ain't great. And I think everybody knows, including him, that he can't sing.
I find it so odd. I'd love to talk to producers or directors to find out why they cast people like that, because then you'll have movies like one of my personal favorites, Moulin Rouge, where you get these people, Nicole Kidman, Ewan McGregor, holy cow, they have great voices.
Or you do what they used to do in old Hollywood, just dub them.
Right, or something, yeah. So why do you do that? But anyway, moving on.
So I like this. This basically is an excuse to, there's a great exploiter named Dan Sunny, and his thing about, he would take old movies and he would play the hell out of them, and then he would change the title and he'd play the hell out of them, and he would keep trying to make money. And basically the way he explained it is, you would shake the flour sack until it was empty, and then you'd shake it a bit more and see what fell out. That's kind of what this movie was doing. You had a story in the first movie, and you used up all the good songs in the first movie, and you want to make another movie filled with ABBA songs, and you're like, When I Kissed the Teacher?
Right.
And then I think, from what I've told, I didn't remember the first one terribly well. They did reuse some songs that were done in the first one. I love the music. It was light. It was pretty to look at. It was funny at times. You have Benny and Bjorn, the two songwriters for ABBA, in cameos in the film. I just thought it was a heck of a lot of fun. Basically, the story here is Meryl Streep has passed on to the Never Never, and her daughter is throwing a big party for some reason. She's opening the hotel that Meryl Streep always wanted to open in this Greek village. And you parallel her story with the story of the backstory from the first movie, basically. Right. Meryl Streep meeting these three men and having dalliances, one of which led to Amanda Seyfried's existence. And then you have Cher in a cameo that should be a big surprise, but all the trailers gave away.
Right, exactly.
You have Andy Garcia in a role, and he and Cher have a moment that made me laugh out loud when I saw it. I don't know. I just thought it was a wonderful, fun little film. It's not important. It's not deep. There's no message other than live, love, and sing ABBA songs.
In retrospect, I'm kind of okay on this one. I didn't dislike the first one. I didn't like the first one, particularly in. I'll talk briefly about the first one. I found Meryl Streep's character so unappealing, and thinking she's so grouchy and unpleasant. Why would any of these three guys bother being interested in her? Blah blah blah. So I had problems with the original character. So now this one is, and you say again, I was thinking. It'd be fun to hear some more ABBA songs coming back. But it made me realize that while they're not one-hit wonders, there may be 3 or 4 hit wonders.
Oh, God, no.
And so I'm sitting there.
They had a greatest hits and a more greatest hits.
Is that right?
Sorry.
Well, you surprised me on this one because I'm sitting there listening to the songs and I'm going, really?
Some of them are second or third
right,
string.
and then when the ones that we like come back up, I'm feeling, oh, so you're just going to rip off the first movie. Oh, I see. So I was disappointed in this one. I'm the Grouch today. I've got the voice for it. So, again, I think if you're a huge fan, although, as you say, this is kind of controversial because the real fans of Mamma Mia, I would have loved to have known what my mom thought because she loved the first one.
Yeah.
You're right that I do hear that you either love it because it's more of the same, or you hate it because it's almost kind of like kicking the old film back.
And I don't think you necessarily have to see the first movie to get anything out of this,
I don't think
because
so.
I had a vague memory of it, and I enjoyed it to the degree, and it's a good mother-daughter movie for various reasons I will and won't get into right now. I think the first one was too. And I said to my mother and sister, 2 different people, that you should go and see this. It should be good. And they both had a really good time with it, and they had no idea about the first movie. So it plays, because basically the backstory is part of what this movie is. So it sort of retells the whole thing. And I thought the casting was really good for the younger versions of the grown-up people.
That was fun.
Very, very well done. Some of the musical numbers I thought were very cleverly staged, and others I thought were a little La La Land, in that they were a little like, there should be a higher level of operating.
If I have to dig for just one thing to say, it's a beautiful location. So as a diver, I wanted to just walk right into there, and I'll just stay there right now. So sometimes I think, I forget what the movie was, but there was a Johnny Depp movie where I got to thinking that the only reason they did this was so that the cast and crew could go to this location. So I forget which one. It was on a train or something.
That in the Beatles in producing the film Help, when it was being written, it was written based on where they wanted to go.
Is that right?
It's like, we've never been to Switzerland, skiing in Switzerland.
So
we've never been to the Bahamas. It's how it's happening. It's not all about art.
I'll bet.
Yes.
You've never been to. Have you been to Oakland?
Yes, actually.
You have actually been to Oakland. I have not. I never made it when I lived out there. But I certainly have never visited this Oakland because it's not quite in our universe. Slightly askew, we've got a story about a young telemarketer who happens to be African American, and he's struggling with all of the issues that African American men deal with today. But it's particularly more difficult because he finds out that he's just not doing well as a telemarketer. And a gentleman right next to him, who really kind of has the in, says, well, you got to use your white voice. White voice, what's that all about? So he takes it on, and when he does end up calling using his white voice and becoming really successful, when he talks to you, he always says that he's sorry to bother you.
Peaceful stroll outdoors, doing little simple chores.
So this was getting hyped a lot. This was one of those that I was almost sick of seeing the trailer to. Because it kept coming up constantly. But it was really intriguing, and it looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. And I was particularly looking forward to seeing it because Danny Glover was in it. I love Danny Glover. In retrospect, I think I would have liked this a lot more. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was topical. I thought the lead actor was just terrific. I loved the kind of quirkiness of it, although I'll let you address an issue which is correct, that maybe it goes a little too far. But in retrospect, I think I would have liked it more if Danny Glover hadn't been in it, because he took me out of it. Every time he's there, I'm saying, oh, it's Danny Glover. That's fun. And I think I would have liked it more. I'll throw back to say, for some reason, because they're all stars now. When I saw the original Poltergeist, I didn't know any of the actors, even though they were kind of.
They are the people you're looking at in the movie.
Right, they're just the characters, and so it took me out of it a little bit, but I still really enjoyed this. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This is a comedy, as the trailers make obvious. It is. It's other things too. One of those things being weird. It's very weird. It's like absurdist, surreal comedy, just anyway. But then at some point, half to 3/4 of the way through the movie, it gets very, very strange. And you're like, is this supposed to be a hallucination or a dream sequence? And the answer is no. This movie stays with that and goes to the end. And a lot of people I talked to said the movie either lost them there or it never quite recovered from that. And I kind of am in that boat where it was hard to get my head around how bizarre it became for a while. But it is all trying to make a point through satire and ridiculousness and all of that. So I had a really good time with it. I saw another film the same day, which I'm going to mention just because I don't know if and when we'll review it, and it's really good. A movie called Blind Spotting, which sort of covers some of the same themes about race and society and levels of this and that. That's well worth seeking out. I don't think it's on video yet, but that and The Hate You Give that I saw last week and this movie were three films that attack the same experience in different ways that I thought were all quite good. Just be prepared for it to be weird and crude in some ways, but I thought it was quite good. This was directed by, I don't know if it's the first film, but it's directed. At times it is actually. It was directed by a rapper, which doesn't always put a lot of faith in me, but this guy made a really cool movie, so I'm very curious to see what he does after this. I think it was hopefully successful enough to help bankroll more in the future. Sure. If I may.
Yep.
Okay.
It's that time. Let me just edge over.
Oh, is it?
Oh, I thought you were going to do it.
Well, there's a movie.
Not?
Did you see the next movie?
I didn't.
Hold on.
We're really
a little housekeeping here.
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. Actually, would you care to introduce it? I can fake it, but you've seen it. You saw it.
We see. It's been a week, and I'm struggling. But can't get enough zombie movies? Of course you can't. It's zombie world for the past 20 years. Well, here's an interesting one where a character, the world is overtaken by zombies. What a surprise. But we have one guy who learns their language and can talk about it. Well, he's going to work with a few of these. Are they undead? Are they dead? I like to call them undead, I guess. But to try to find out who really started this huge plague and get back to find patient zero.
Wide open style that really lets you have it. Schmidt, Big Mouth.
Well, this looks well shot.
It was. I mean, it was.
I've never heard of it.
It was interesting. Yeah, this caught me by surprise on video. So I downloaded it and watched it. It was pretty well shot. Performances are pretty good. It's an interesting little twist. You know how much more, like you said, when we went to the clip. You said somebody had the guts to finally make, no pun intended, finally make a zombie movie. I never was a zombie fan. I love the original Night of the Living Dead. I guess I'm a slow-moving zombie fan.
Yes.
That there was an argument on, not Rob Zombie, but Eli Roth has a special on the history of horror.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were arguing that. Fast zombies versus slow zombies. What's scarier, blah, blah, blah. I loved World War Z, though. So this was an interesting take in that this character could communicate with them, some rudimentary intelligence of these zombies, and trying to get back. So it was a unique enough take. If you're interested in the zombie movie, I think this is a fun one to watch for 90 minutes or so. Performances are good. You mentioned
good cast.
A former Doctor Who,
Matt Smith,
in that, yeah. So I thought Patient Zero was both a surprise and certainly worth a rent.
Okay, now is the part.
Now I can hide. Excuse me.
He and me and you and we always look forward to. It's the Arrow Video Corner.
Yep.
We have two this week. Staying right on top of where I should be for a change with these films. First up is a little film. Okay, so Arrow, I think when I say Arrow Video Corner, there's probably a segment of the viewing population, all four of them, maybe 2 or 3 out of the 4, these are these lame movies that I'm never going to watch. I've never heard of. Well, once in a while, Arrow pulls something out of their bag that I get even choked up. It surprises even me that they get these titles. It's a movie that you've heard of. It's a movie you've probably seen. It's a movie I saw in the theater. It was a hugely popular film that I think may have even inspired a TV show more recently, if I think about it. Bruce Willis stars as a man sent back to the past as opposed to the future, but he does go back to the future at one point to help prevent something that causes the downfall of society, and he's looking for something not limited to, but no more increasing than of 12 monkeys.
Because they taste delicious and give you vitamins and protein too.
When this originally came out, it caught me at just the right time. I think everybody in it is terrific, particularly Brad Pitt. He just steals the show, as great as Willis is. Madeline Stowe is fine. This is one of my favorite Terry Gilliam films. Just the way it blends all these stories and how they twist and turn around, and there are terrific plot devices and plot twists of how things work together. I just love 12 Monkeys.
It's very, very clever.
Yeah.
As you say, it's a time travel film where Bruce Willis is being sent from a dystopian, very Terry Gilliam future, very Brazil future, into what is the present for when this movie came out, and trying to stop this thing. And I don't want to get into too much of it. I mean, probably half the population who's watching this has already seen this before, but I had not seen it since it came out in the theater. And so it was pretty fresh for me after however many decades it's been since this movie came out. And how, you're following a thread that he and the audience and the protagonist are sure this is what to do, and you find out, no, it's really something else. Brad Pitt, as you say, is really strong at it, playing a severely mentally ill person.
Yep.
Shockingly, who finds a bunch of followers and leads a political movement. Go figure. So it was everything that was supposed to be a surprise was a surprise for me, this movie, because I'd totally forgotten about it. So the Arrow treatment is, it's going to look better than it ever has. I didn't feel that this movie was incredibly lush. I mean, the dystopian future is very grubby and dingy and everything, and the present is mostly urban cityscape. So it is not blooming flowers and green hillsides and things and blue skies. It's kind of dystopian in its own way too. But again, it's a new gorgeous transfer, loaded with extras. I did not get a chance to peruse the extras more than just seeing what they were, and it's voluminous. It's everything, every extra that you had in any previous edition, plus some new retrospective things like that. You get a commentary with Gilliam. You get a lot. So as with anything the Arrow does, if you've ever owned a version of this before, whenever I hear Arrow announce something, I look at my shelf and I'll be like, yep, throw that away. Throw that away, because it has been superseded. So 12 Monkeys is out now from Arrow. Also out from Arrow, this is like that other kind of movie we were talking about before. This is the kind of movie that everybody's going to be like, huh?
Oh, okay.
Why? And you watch that for fun? We have an early 70s giallo film, Italian horror thriller slasher kind of thing, starring Susie Kendall, who was the female co-lead in Dario Argento's Bird with the Crystal Plumage, the film that arguably kicked off this whole giallo madness. And not a lot of plot to speak of in this film, other than a masked black-gloved killer is out there slicing and dicing for some reason that only will be revealed at the end of the film. But while you're watching, if you are a person who happens to be in this film, which would make it difficult to watch, please gird your torso.
Car wash, make it look like new. Watch it in the car wash that lets you see right through.
So,
is there any carnal violence in this?
Well, that's what's funny. The trailer we just ran was one of the alternate titles for this film, which was the dainty and Disney-esque carnal violence, which kind of tells you what this movie's about. So you have a bunch of young, pretty people in Rome in the early 70s, and that allows you to look at the gorgeousness of young, pretty people and of Rome in the early 70s.
Much of which I had to delete from that trailer. So.
Yeah, Tom has a deft editing hand. Them Italians, they love their blood and guts and nudity. So these people who are, I think they're history students or architecture students or something, one by one start getting bumped off for some reason. So it is a typical slasher giallo film. Who is the killer and who will survive and what will be left of them. And then at one point, some of our cast goes off to a lovely villa and spends time there and gets bumped off one by one in the villa. There really isn't much more to this movie than people being killed. But it is done in a stylish way. The music is very funky. What I love about the Euro horror films is very attractive people, very cool fashions, cool cars, cool interiors, cool exteriors. They're very stylish. And there's usually some really bizarre, weird, perverse explanation as to why all this is going on. The killer in this movie wears a really strange mask that is kind of disturbing to look at, and that's different from some of these other films. And I said black glove killer. I don't think he actually has black gloves. I think he's like a gray gloved killer in this movie. So that makes it unique and genre busting. Two things. Okay, so the movie looks great. I've seen this movie before. I rented this movie on an old media home video or whatever tape years ago, and it was muddy garbage. It's letterboxed. It looks great. You can watch the Italian cut, which is longer. You can watch the Italian cut, which is longer and in Italian with English subtitles. You can watch the US cut, which is shorter and is dubbed in English, or you can watch a hybrid, which is like the long version, which is everything that could be in English is, and the parts that aren't in English have subtitles, which is what I chose. It can be the longest version of this thing. But also, if I wanted to read, I'd go to a library.
Right.
And I happen to kind of work in one, which is not true, but anyway, I took the easy way out. So there are moments where you revert back to Italian. So there's a scene where they find a body. An old man finds the first body in the film, and the police ask him why he was out here in this quarry at night. And what his explanation is, well, to be honest, I was out here taking a crap, which is funny. But that was in Italian with subtitles. So what I'm going to say is not accurate, but the last two syllables are. So he says, this is no offense to Italian people, the Italian version of I was out here taking a crap is, but this guy caca. So
is that right?
Apparently caca means taking a crap. So apparently I was speaking Italian as a child, and many of us were, which is kind of interesting.
Surprise.
And the other time, somebody gets cut off in traffic and an Italian man is cursing at this person who's speeding away, and the last word he said is bastard. So again, this is not exactly what the man says, but the last thing you hear me say is accurate to the film. Oh! And I thought that was funny. So apparently the Dice Man all these years with his oh was speaking Italian. So I've known more Italian, more crude Italian than I thought for many years. So anyway, I really enjoyed this movie. The extras are voluminous. There's a commentary. There are alternate title scenes, so you can see it with the torso or the carnal violence or one other original title in the film. There are extras about the people who made the film and trailers and TV spots and radio spots and on and on and on and on. It's a set that if I did not get for free, I would be buying because it's, for my taste, that good. So I would say, and I think there's a lot of fans of these movies and of this movie. They're going to be happy to finally have a really nice edition of this. So big thumbs up on my part for Torso or Torse. Oh,
there you
it's
go.
not caca to me. So that's all we had on the list for this week.
Yep.
Next week we have
Bohemian Rhapsody, probably the big one.
You know, that was a movie, the initial trailer I saw for that looked really cheesy.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the more I've seen the newer trailers, the more it looks really good.
Well, and if we're talking about with Mamma Mia, liking the music, as long as it's, I don't know if they're going to redub the lyrics, so if it's going to be the actor singing it or not, but at least in the trailer, it sounds like it's the original, which, and my son is really learning to love Queen, so I think it's going to be a fun time.
I think it's going to be fun. It might not be fun toward the end of the movie.
Well, that's true.
But there's little hints of that in the trailer. It's not necessarily all smiles, but it's a story that I don't know. And any biopic is not usually 100% accurate. I kind of hope this one is because I'd like to know how did this band come together and get where they got.
Right.
And it looks like Freddie Mercury was a pretty wacky guy, so this looks like there's a lot of fun to be had in that. Nobody's Fool, not the Paul Newman movie from long ago, I'm assuming, and the new Sexy Kung Fu Nutcracker, the Dark Nutcracker.
Exactly right.
Kung Fu Nutcracker is coming out, which to me seems silly, but visually looks really impressive.
Okay.
Like that's one
I
that
haven't seen anything for it.
It's a dark take on a family classic.
Is that right?
With like epic battle scenes because you got to have an epic battle scene between two groups. But it looks visually amazing. So this is one that actually looks to me like it might be a benefit from seeing like an IMAX sort of presentation of it.
Okay.
I hope you have a voice.
I'll try to as well.
I mean, here at Cheshire TV, we like to give everyone a voice, but they have to have one. They have to bring one to the party. We don't.
Yes.
I won't put you on my knee and work on our elbow and ventriloquize.
Getting progressively better. We'll have to see.
So was there anything else you wanted to share with the folks at home?
None whatsoever. Just get out and vote. We'll remind you of that next week.
Alrighty. Until then, I will be Mark.
And I will be Tom.
And we will be
the Cinemaniacs.